Can we do this every week? Can we be done with Raw by 9 o'clock every week? I love this. I love this. Maybe it ought to just be this way. Maybe Raw ought to be a matinee show. Instead of being prime time, maybe it ought to be 6 o'clock every week. Maybe I'm getting old, though. Maybe I'm just getting old. But 2.5 hours of Raw and it ends at about 8:30 is great. It's great, man. Fantastic. Can't say the same thing for the show, but the concept, though, immaculate. So let's get into this. Rhea Ripley and Io Sky. I'm not going to go into this. Io Sky was apparently told she could choose anybody on the roster she wanted to wrestle. And she chose Rhea Ripley because she wants to wrestle the best. So she skipped over her friend Kyrie, skipped over her friend Asuka to wrestle Rhea Ripley. Now, there's been a lot of people online very upset about Rhea Ripley, thinking that she's getting pushes and title matches that she doesn't deserve. Some folks think that this is just what happens with top guys. Top guys get top guy spots. I agree, but you also have to realize this as well. They're booking this match for Evolution, a show that really ain't got nothing going for it. Liv Morgan was supposed to be an integral part of this show. She got hurt. Apparently, Trish Stratus is supposed to be on this show as well. Nikki Bella was supposed to be on this show. Neither one of them have been seen, and the show is in a couple of weeks. So they're going to have to really build this thing up pretty quickly. So throwing Rhea Ripley in this thing, I can see it as a last-ditch effort to get people to buy tickets to this dang-it show. Will it work? No. I don't think it'll work. Look, I'm used to top guys getting a lot of opportunities, but the issue here is they're not spreading them out. That's the real problem. Most people would not be so frustrated with the excessive amounts of Cody Rhodes and Rhea Ripley if they were spread out more. If Io Sky has gotten a chance to wrestle some of the other women on the roster, some of the women that, to be fair, there's not a lot of women on the roster, but if she'd got an opportunity to spread her title reign around some, then it probably wouldn't have been so bad for her to wrestle Rhea Ripley again. But for her to wrestle Rhea Ripley again, it's kind of like, we've seen this already. We've seen it a couple of times already. Now we got to see it again. And we haven't really seen Io break out and do a whole lot with other people. It does make it feel cramped. So I'm on the side of the people who don't really want to see Rhea Ripley versus Io Sky. But this is the best option they got, really. Outside of Io versus Asuka. But they could always do that at SummerSlam. Granted, Rhea Ripley doesn't win the title back. But Rhea Ripley might win the title back. Because if she doesn't win it, where does she go from here? As a matter of fact, because Triple H has not done a good job of telling stories at all, there's a whole lot of what do you do next with this person? And there's nothing that can be said or done that is of the appropriate, I guess you could say, caliber. Because if you don't give the belt to Rhea, now you have to put Rhea in the same situation she was in before. She's wrestling some mid-carder and beating them. Or even worse, she's doing a job for a mid-carder. This is because Triple H didn't prepare anybody. He didn't build anybody on the roster. And we're just stuck with this situation. But they think Rhea Ripley is a huge draw. They might have some kind of metrics to prove that. But anyway, this is the match they want to have as the centerpiece for Evolution. It's sensible. I guess we just got to live with it. All right, so Dominic Mysterio still not medically cleared. AJ Styles called him a punk ass. And I guess we all have to live with this. So maybe it wasn't just Dominic Mysterio's trying to get out of going to Saudi Arabia and that he really is hurt. Or they just decided to run this storyline and drag it out as long as possible. We done know. Anyway, JD McDonough and Finn Balor win the tag team championships from the New Day. Michael Cole mentioned on commentary that the New Day has only wrestled twice since WrestleMania. You heard that correctly, folks. They wrestled twice since WrestleMania. That's over a month and a half, maybe even closer to 2 months. The New Day wrestled twice. What did I say before? Didn't I say these championships were dog shit? All of these titles and all of these title reigns don't mean anything. So they gave the belts to JD McDonough and Finn Balor. There's still no ops. There's still no ops. There's still nobody for them to face. Were they going to knock the mothballs off of the War Raiders and bring them back? No. Who wants to see that? Nobody wants to see that stuff, man. Anyway, Big E mocked the New Day on Twitter when they lost. So maybe they'll bring Big E back in to try to keep New Day warm. But my goodness, how did they manage to ruin their heel turn? Remember how hot that was? Remember how much people said, oh, Vince never would have done nothing like this. And they just left it. Big E disappeared, and then New Day was walking around backstage. Kofi Kingston looks like he sells coke in Miami. Xavier Woods doing Xavier Woods things. He's cosplaying Nikki Barnes 1 minute. He's cosplaying Vegeta from Dragon Ball the next. He's dressed like a character from One Piece. Then he's Apollo Creed. It's like this guy is schizophrenic. No wonder he ain't never made it to the top in pro wrestling. He doesn't have an identity outside of being black nerd guy. I hate the New Day. I really do. So them losing, I don't care. Bayley still wants the Intercontinental Championship. Her and Lyra Valkyria get to arguing. Adam Pearce makes a number one contenders match between the two of them. And the winner will wrestle for the championship at, did he say Evolution? No, I think he just said their number one contenders match. So they have the match. It was solid enough. And it ends in a double pin because the referee, dumb bot that she is, counted all 4 shoulders to the mat. I never understood why referees would do that. Why would the referee willingly end the match in a draw? Why would you willingly end it in a draw? Anyway, they continued to fight afterwards until the officials pulled them apart. But you already know what this is. It's a Triple H special. Triple threat match. You know, except for he didn't have Becky Lynch interfere this time. Instead, he just had Bayley and Lyra fight each other. But then again, that was the only other option you had. You didn't have any other options. If you'd have had Lyra beat Bayley, then what do you do with Bayley? If you'd have had Bayley beat Lyra, then what do you do with Lyra? There's nobody else in the goddamn division. So, since both girls want the title, they're both going to have to end up wrestling Becky. Of course, it was going to end this way. The question now is it going to be at Saturday night's main event, or is it going to be at Evolution? Because WWE is building 2 to 3 shows at once, all the time. And it's impossible to know what show they're actually going to put things on. But I would imagine this is going to be for Evolution. Because Evolution absolutely needs Becky Lynch to be on it. Goldberg, they had a vignette, which of course was a lot of 26, 25-year-old footage. And a couple of shots from him with gray in his beard. But it looked amazing. It looked immaculate. This leads to Gunther coming out, basically trash-talking Goldberg's career, saying that all of his accomplishments can be summed up in 3 minutes. But Goldberg is really a 58-year-old man who is lost and trying to have his last hurrah at Gunther's expense. He says he's capable of beating Goldberg in 3 minutes, but he wants to drag it out, blow him up, and embarrass him in front of his family. And then he's going to say, after he beats Goldberg, who is next? We then get Seth Rollins. I wanted to puke. Seth Rollins comes out, congratulates Gunther for winning the world title, says he never really wanted to cash in on Cena. He showed up. He went halfway across the world just to stop CM Punk from winning the world title, because as long as there's breath in his lungs, CM Punk will never be world champion again. And then he said, as the Money in the Bank winner, he is having a full-on assault on both world titles. CM Punk then marched to the ring. Him and Rollins brawled a bit before Rollins decided to run away. As Rollins fled, he ran into LA Knight, and LA Knight beat him up backstage in the concession stands and all that sort of stuff. CM Punk turned around, walked past Gunther. Gunther grabbed Punk. Punk shoved Gunther to the ground. And he looked like a little boy after he got pushed to the ground. And then Punk went and found LA Knight backstage and said that he needs to get to the back of the line when it comes to fighting Seth Rollins. And LA Knight said, you could have him 6 days a week, but on Sunday night main event, his ass is mine. Yeah. I'm like, okay. Look, in theory, they are moving LA Knight up because now he's wrestling somebody on a higher level. He's wrestling Seth Rollins, but is he going to win that match? Likely not. So this is somewhat like when LA Knight got his brush with greatness when he wrestling Roman Reigns, or his brush in the spotlight wrestling Logan Paul, or, you know, the spotlight of wrestling with guys like Jacob Fatu, where he can be there, but is he actually going to get a chance to go over? Probably not. Is he actually going to get to climb that ladder and end up on that side of the card where he's a bona fide main event guy? Not likely. So now we've also teased Gunther and Punk. Now, I'm not really a big Gunther guy. I think part of the reason Raw has been so sluggish in viewership and general fan interest, a lot of that has to do with Gunther. Him being such a plain rice cracker of a pro wrestler. He's a good promo and he's a good wrestler. But he's not an over-the-top personality. And he's also not presented in an over-the-top way. He comes across as very meat and potatoes. And WWE is a big, larger-than-life company. Him getting sunned by CM Punk was very necessary to tease people who want to see that. I know they ran that match at the house shows, I think in Europe. I think they ran the match at house shows in other places. So these two guys have worked together before. But they never had a big money TV match. And this could be where they could go for SummerSlam. They can go for Punk and Gunther for the World Championship. That being said, it just begs a Seth Rollins interference because he's already said he's not going to let Punk become the World Champion. So I don't know how we end this outside of Punk and Rollins having their big blow-off match, which obviously is going to end up being a Hell in a Cell match, right? Now, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with Punk being the Hell in a Cell guy because Hell in a Cell was a late Attitude Era, Ruthless Aggression Era thing, and Punk is from that generation. And he's one of the guys who can make that match really matter. Especially since a lot of Seth Rollins Hell in a Cell matches have not been good. He could actually maybe drag Seth Rollins into a good Hell in a Cell match. But how long is this going to go? Because I can't imagine this thing is going to keep going until October. October is another 4 months from now, right? So you got to end this thing before then, right? 3 months. By the time you hear this, it'll be July. So maybe it's another 3 months away. I don't know, man. Not a huge fan of what's going on here with the CM Punk stuff. It's too subtle for me. You know, I like my WWE bigger and louder. And it's too many normal guys running around here looking like fry cooks. And, you know, Gunther, he looks like he works in an office. You know, he doesn't like he's on the lower end of the totem pole. But he definitely reminds me of that guy from Dinner for Schmucks. If you've seen that movie, that's Gunther all day. You know, that's probably what Vince would have made him do. I saw Dinner for Schmucks, pal. But everybody's already looking past the Gunther and Goldberg thing. They basically said it's Goldberg's last match. They didn't show more of the sit down between Michael Cole and Goldberg. I heard that thing was 30 minutes. They showed like 2 or 3 minutes of it, and then they showed a vignette this week. I don't understand what they're doing. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Goldberg is cooked. He's done. Nobody thinks he's going to win. It's unfortunate, but you know you're not going to get any surprises out of anybody on this one. But Punk, he has been the talk of the town the last couple of hours. He came straight from Saudi Arabia and went to a protest in Pittsburgh over the ending of gender affirming care for the youth. And everybody's just talking about how he's performative. He doesn't really mean it because he just left Saudi Arabia. The issue is he went to this stupid, very stupid protest. It's a stupid thing to protest too. I don't want to get into it. I don't want to be too political. But you're never leftist enough. He is getting a ton of criticism. More criticism than anyone else who was supposedly a leftist and went to Saudi Arabia. Literally nobody else is getting the kind of criticism that CM Punk gets for going to Saudi Arabia. He's one person who went to Saudi Arabia and he's getting reamed for it. Very bizarre stuff. But we already been through that, right? But him going to this Pittsburgh protest didn't save him at all. They didn't want to hear it. Very interesting. All right, so Chad Gable is injured, and he's going to be down for a while. They made a joke that El Grande Americano won't be around, huh? And Chad Gable says, well, no, yeah, El Grande Americano is going to be there. He's going to be around. And the Creed brothers are like, we're going to be lost without you. What are we going to do? And Chad Gable puts Ivy Nile in charge. Ivy Nile? She's never won a match on television, and she's in charge now? Why is she in charge? What have we seen in terms of leadership skills from Ivy Nile? We've seen none. And what's up with all these injuries? Now, you see they cut house shows. These people are working less than ever before, and there's a new injury pretty much every week. How is this happening? Well, it's probably because these talents is not doing enough work. They need to work a little bit more. But now Chad Gable's gone. He was a consistent player on the show. But El Grande Americano is still there. He's just a taller man. Everybody knows that it's Ludwig Kaiser. So Ludwig Kaiser is now El Grande Americano. And I want to see how this version of, for starters, everybody's kind of like, well, at least Kaiser's on TV. Yes, that you can say that. That being said, though, I hate this for him. I hate that a guy that talented, he is the Christian to Gunther's Edge. How so many people think that Christian is better than Edge. I literally think that Ludwig Kaiser is better than Gunther. He's not as big, but he has a lot more personality. He has a lot more in terms of facial expression. He's a bigger personality. I like Kaiser more than Gunther. But he won't get an opportunity because he's perpetually in Gunther's shadow. He's essentially this man's Janetti, which is very unfortunate. But that's his lot in life. I don't like that Ludwig Kaiser has to be El Grande Americano in this circumstance. It sucks. This would have been a perfect time to get the other guy. What was his name? Vini Vidi Vici. You know who I'm talking about. He should have been El Grande Americano. Or how about Austin Theory? He could have been El Grande Americano. Like, there could have been some really... Maybe you could rotate the gimmick. Like, that could be really funny where each time El Grande Americano wrestles, it's a different person. Like, that could be real fun. I would have come up with something like that. Where you would have picked a fight and 1 week is Ludwig Kaiser, the next week is Austin Theory, and then 2 weeks later it's Grayson Waller or whatever, just to mix it up and keep the gimmick alive. That would have been fun. And then if you'd have snatched the mask off of one guy and then had another guy show up with the mask on too, kind of like the two doinks, that would have been fun as hell. I'm just thinking about that kind of stuff. Like, I don't want it to just be Kaiser and this is just his thing to do. Because that sucks. He should be firmly in the mid-card, actually winning matches and in pursuit of the Intercontinental Championship. And really being a meaningful character on the show. I don't understand how you have this guy and you just decide to do nothing with him. Just nothing. He's not even in Gunther's corner. He's not even with Gunther anymore. And there's no good reason why that was dropped. Why is him and Gunther not friends anymore? Whatever. Moving on. So Finn Balor is happy he's a tag team champion. He suggests that Raquel Rodriguez take up Roxanne Perez as a tag team partner to replace Liv Morgan. Raquel Rodriguez at first was completely against it. I don't think Liv would like that. And then Finn Balor was like, well, they're going to strip you of the tag team championship. And you worked very hard to keep up that championship, even though you got beat by Rhea Ripley just a couple days ago. So then Raquel Rodriguez was like, oh, okay. They did a vote. They voted Roxanne Perez into the Judgment Day. So now she's a member of this morass. And she is now a tag team champion. Finn Balor and JD McDonough, they go to Adam Pearce and Nick Aldis and say, I think, Roxanne Perez and Raquel Rodriguez should be the tag team champions. Just allow a replacement. Pearce and Nick Aldis agreed, but said that they have to prove that they're worthy champions by winning a fatal four-way match at the pay-per-view, which features one team from Raw, one team from SmackDown, and one team from NXT. This is fair enough. This is almost the exact same thing they did when the tag team champion, when Jade Cargill was written off the show. They put Naomi in there, and then they made Naomi and Bianca defend the belts in order to prove that they were worthy champions. So this makes sense. The only issue I have here is I don't know when that match is, because I don't know when Evolution is. I don't know what, you would think you would want to establish that these are the tag team champions immediately instead of let's wait 3 weeks or 2 weeks or however many weeks it is. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But each week we get one half step closer to Judgment Day ending and breaking up. And then we take 3 steps back and the Judgment Day is still together, having fun. And I hate it. I hate it so much, I don't know what to do. Next, Nick Aldis and Adam Pearce announced a number 1 contenders battle royal for Clash at Paris. So they're booking for Paris shows, European tours. This match is going to be at Evolution as an all-women's battle royal. And it's going to be, I guess, all the brands working together. Ivy Nile wants to be in the battle royal. She's the first woman to mention it. Do you think she's going to win it? No, she ain't got a chance in hell. So, the battle royal should be interesting. Who is there a female wrestler from the WWE who is from France? Well, there was one. She was in NXT UK, but she was actually from Morocco. But I don't know if there's a female wrestler from France that they can force in there, which means it's probably going to be Stephanie Vaquer that's going to win the match. As she should. She should get a singles match, to be quite honest. And I'm actually surprised she wasn't on this show. She should have been on this show. So I'm going to go with Stephanie Vaquer is probably going to win that battle royal. And it seems to be sensible for her to get the shot at the title at Clash at Paris. I forgot to mention, Roxanne Perez wants to fight Kairi Sane. She wants to get revenge for what Kairi did to Liv. And they did a Kairi Sane video package, which I actually liked, where she talked about not being big on talk, but fighting with honor and pride, and that the Pirate Princess is coming for all the gold. I love Kairi Sane. She's tiny, incredibly, impossibly tiny, but she's a high-energy babyface at a time where you need more high-energy babyfaces. I don't think they ever should have changed her character from NXT, which I think is the best presentation for her. And look, I like Kabuki Warriors, Kairi. That was fine, except for she kept getting concussions. But they're trying to mix the two now, where she's going to be a little bit on the darker side. But I liked big bubbly Kairi. That was fun. And I like that they finally are, putting some emphasis on her. But a video package at this stage, this isn't, 2023 when they were doing video packages for things. And it was like, wow, there was something on the horizon. Remember when Ludwig Kaiser got a video package? Where did that get him? So until they have some kind of follow through on this, I'm not going to get too excited. Sami Zayn was attacked by Karrion Kross in a pipe. He beat that ass with that pipe. They're still trying to force Kross to be a heel, even though the people are cheering him. Afterwards, I did not know this. I found out that the main event of tonight's show was the Braun and Bronson versus Sami Zayn and Penta in the main event. The main event of the show. Why on God's green earth is this the main event? Anyway, Braun and Bronson win after pinning Sami Zayn. At the end of the match, Bronson Reed's going to crush Sami Zayn, but here comes Jey Uso. Well, his music blasts. Everybody jumps up, huge pop. They're yeeting, and here comes Jey Uso with a chair, but he's not got no sense of urgency. His music is playing, and he's stalking with the chair. He's walking to the ring extremely slow. So Braun Breaker gets out of the ring because he's literally dog man, and he runs up the ramp, and he gets hit with the chair. And then he gets in the ring, and he attacks Bronson Reed with the chair. And these guys flee, and he saves Sami Zayn, and they start yeeting as the show goes off the air. I could have done it without this. This is a very weak main event. It's an extremely weak main event. For my goodness, I'm actually kind of sad. Like, if you look at how they put these shows together, you can see why the viewership is not as strong as it used to be. The stars are barely on. I say this stuff every week. The stars are barely on the show. There's almost no mid card to speak of. There's almost no angles to speak of. When there is an angle, it really lacks follow-up, and it really lacks punch. Nothing really stands out on the show. And then if you do make a mistake and get something over on the show, please believe that they're not going to say anything or do anything for several hours. How this show did not start with a fuming CM Punk screaming about Seth Rollins screwing him out of the world title, because that was the last thing everybody saw in Saudi Arabia was Seth Rollins screw CM Punk. That means you start the show with a hot, angry CM Punk who wants Seth Rollins, and he goes looking for Seth Rollins all night long. That's how you tell the story of this episode of Raw, but they've gotten so lazy. The talent has gotten lazy. The booking has gotten lazy. There's no energy. There's no sense of urgency. There's no mid-card. There's nothing going on. Absolutely nothing. And so it's tough to sit through these shows. So I would pay for this show to air at 6 o'clock every week. I would love it if it aired at 6 o'clock every week. That would be great. It would be fantastic. Then I can get to bed at a decent hour. And it would be great if we got some big personalities on this show too. There's no Roman Reigns or anything like that on here. I mean, Punk is a guy, but Punk only shows up to do run-ins, and that's it. And maybe he'll do a promo segment if you're lucky. I mean, it's just not enough happening on these shows. And Triple H is kind of like, as long as we go under the radar, everything's fine. And it's like, no, this is tough to sit through, my guy. It really is. So I'm glad that these shows ended early now. Do the show at 6 o'clock every week. Have the pay-per-view at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Every time you need to have a pay-per-view, do it at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I love this. I'm getting old, so I love this. This is great. I got the rest of my night to do whatever I want. I might watch a movie, goddammit. No, I'm going to bed. Like, share, subscribe. Talking to you guys later. Peace out.